All right, we are rolling, rolling, rolling. All right, what's up, guys? DJ Bone is back with Studio Time Part 2 of this series for OG Kush. And last time in the first part, I showed you currently what I had created, and we kind of moved in a little bit further from, I think it was like more into the drop, the bridge, working in drop 2, a little bit of production with mixing, post-production stuff, working as I go along, creating each piece. Decided to throw on a pop filter to try and help with the P's and B's. Let me know how that is in the comments below. Still plan on buying new gear here because I really hate this setup. It works for now, but it's killing me. I'm better than this. All right, so let's do a recap from last time, and that way I can refresh everything in my brain and move on to the rest of the song. So let's go.
Kush is my cologne, and I'm smoking out the zone. Kush is my cologne, and I'm smoking out the zone.
Ooh, I like it. There's still some things in here that needs more going on. I mean, there's a lot of activity going on already, but there's certain areas in the song where it's kind of like dry, where it's like, right here at the beginning of the first drop, the vocal drop, and then it goes into the vox chop. It's just kind of like vox chop alone. It's like my crashes need to come up or something more. But check it out. You'll just see it's just like here's the Vox drop, and then it's just kind of like sounds like nothing but the Vox chop being played. Even though the kick is there and the crash is there and the white noise is starting, but see what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm wrong.
Kush is my cologne and I'm smoking out the zone.
I don't know. It's like even like right here. It's cool, but it's like it needs something with it. I don't know what it is yet. Like that's okay a little bit because you hear the hi-hat, you hear the crash, you hear the beginning of the white noise like I said. It's kind of weak on the white noise. I could probably bring that up a little bit more in decibels. Negative 16. Let's try negative 12. Let's make sure that that's side chaining correctly. Oh, look at that. I'm not even side chaining the white noise. Oh, yes, I am. I'm actually using the volume shaper for the side chain. Normally, I do, what is it? I feel more comfortable just throwing on a compressor on the group of my white noise. And what I'll do there is I'll choose side chain and I'll have the, low pass, turn the EQ on so that the low pass is only being fed through for audio. So then if I turn off side chain and have it go back out to the master, solo out the group of white noise, and just look at the signal of the low end coming through on everything else, or not everything, it'd be the kick, sorry. Where are you? Kick. So then right here, so right there, that's the kick coming through. So normally I would bring it down to where you can hear it pumping like that. And sometimes I'll bring the attack back so it's quicker. Same with the release. Whereas if I do the side chain to the volume shaper, it's only going to be technically muted for that second, well, not second, but the eighth note. So I think I'm going to go back to using the compressor now and see what it sounds like. Do like A and B maybe. All right, side chain off. Switch it back to the volume shaper. It's doing it, but it's quicker. So like if I just solo out everything that's being sidechained that I routed it to. And there you have it. So I think I'm going to go back to the compressor. And surprisingly, these guys were supposed to be also in the volume shaper, because if you notice, there was no synths going on during the solo track of everything being sidechained. What did I just do? Well, according to everything being sidechained, it's just the sub that's coming through. So, and before was the white noise, but we just changed that. So we should be hearing the bass synths going to the sidechain. So I'm glad I caught that. Let's make sure that my other group is also. Okay, that one is. So now if I solo out the sidechain volume shaper, you should hear the bass synths with the sub. And that's what we want. So now our kick and snare is actually going to punch through the mix even better. Little things that make a difference. Glad I caught it though. Okay, moving on. We'll get back to that part that I'm talking about there earlier about where stuff needs a little bit more work. I don't know, maybe it's just a pet peeve of mine. I don't know. Okay, so when we listen to this previous, I noticed that I want to bring back some elements to keep the flow going. It's like when I was listening to it, I wanted to hear some more of it and not just move on to all new sounds of synths. You know, we got to kind of keep the composition together, make it make sense, if that makes any sense. All right, so this one, we got to bring that one back because I want to hear that again on the second half. This microphone, I tell you, I'm trying to look at my keyboard. Oh, yeah, you should have all the keys memorized. Well, Apple C and Apple V, doing it blind is a little awkward, that's all. Okay, so that comes back. I am going to bring in this section, dupe it, dupe the sidechain MIDI signals, I guess we'll call it for that, for the sidechaining, and move on. Okay, so let's get the second half here. We'll just go right here. Okay, so that's the bringing in. These are the fulls. Oh, what to bring right here now. So if we go... All right, we're going to bring in the little swooshes again, but we're actually going to change what they sound like. So it's kind of the same style as what we just heard, but a little variation. So instead of just hearing, okay, I mean, don't get me wrong, I really like that sound, but we're going to change it for this section. That actually sounds exactly the same. Oh, okay. All right, so oscillator A isn't really doing anything unless we were to bring this back up. So we need to make that a little bit. Okay, let's try that. Actually, that's kind of pointless because that noise that we're hearing is actually being played right here, and I'm going to end up having a different sound in that area anyways. So instead of having it give us a noise of the note from oscillator A, we're going to mess with noise. So right now it's set to bright white, and this LFO is controlling the level. That one isn't doing anything there. Okay, so we're going to change the pitch. course that won't do anything. Maybe. Not bad. Bring it up in volume a little bit for that. Alright, so for those guys, we're going to grab Apple C. I had to find it again. Apple V. Alright. Clean up the bass a little bit, make it a little bit more tight. Tighter. Okay, we're going to bring these guys over. Same concept. Change the wavetable or frequency. I don't know. We'll see. LFO. Let's see what this one does for us for whenever I made this thing. I don't even remember. Okay, LFO is the pattern, obviously. Let's change it from the Reese to... what's Squelchy do for us? Not bad. People are probably thinking, well, why does that guy just move his keyboard? I mean, he could just move his keyboard in a different area so he doesn't have to keep peeking over. And I'm like, thinking to myself, I could. I just don't want to. Just right where my hand rests, it works good. Apple V, Apple C. Alrighty, those second swishes need some tender love and care. Let's brighten them up a little more. let's see what I got for effects on this one. We do have some hyper. Some spread. I was gonna say, I hear some reverb there. All right, let's try that. It sounds like it's so squashed. But that's because of the intense square wave that we're using here. I don't know about you guys, but playing through headphones, these are the Sony MDR 7506s. And obviously no headphone is going to be comparable to your studio sound system. I'm using the Rocket 8s with the Rocket sub speaker as well down below near my feet. And I have so much more low end when I play through that instead of these headphones. And these are really good headphones, but it's more not really a flat EQ response, but it kind of is at the same time. It's not like you're throwing on a pair of Beats by Dre and the low end is just kind of boosted up and all that jazz, because then you're not going to get a true response of what your song is supposed to sound like. But my point is to me, my sub sounds low in volume in my headphones than it does in my studio system. Throw in the comments below what you think as you're listening to this. Do you think the sub here, this track, volume needs to come up a little bit more? If I go to play let's just say this section here, the second drop, and we kind of look at the level, they say you kind of want your sub bass to be around like -12, and I am pretty low. I mean, I could bring it up, but it's also because I'm looking at everything else across the board for mixing, making sure that it's not too much, because if it's too much, then everything else just gets diminished, squashed, and it just sounds like crap. So this is like my safe area right now for what I have it at for volume. Because see, if you take a look, the red track is always my sub bass, and then these dark blues are my bass synths. So look at the levels, peaks, RMS, as well as the sub bass, and kind of figure out where they need to be. Usually I have the bass synths higher than the sub, obviously, but I wonder if it could come up a little bit more. Because as you see, the peaks and the RMS on the bass synth track here, it's almost identical to the level of the sub. So technically the sub would have to go down a little bit, but it sounds level, I guess we'll call it, where I would want my sub to be more. But I think this is more of a safe mix that I'm rocking out here. Copy that, paste it, but I didn't have to really do the whole thing there. Because this one, we're going to dupe that. Get rid of those. Get rid of those so they're not doubled. And change the sound of this one. All right. We're going to grab this. And then because I pitched this one up for the bass synth, I got to do the same thing for this one so it matches. That doesn't sound like it's climbing up at all, huh? And I know why. I know why. That has to be a +6. There we go. There we go. Good job. Good job. Good form, Shmee. Okay, this one here. Let's see what I got rocking. Pitch bend, vibrato, leave alone, modulation. I'm going to actually leave that all the way it is with the LFO tool. Okay, we're going to bend. Make sure that that's the bottom one there. Yeah. Okay. Open, warp, and we're going to go somewhere around here, here, and here. Whoa, it kind of sounds exactly the same, doesn't it? That's because I haven't changed anything yet. I just did the bend here. All right, gotta save. I've done way too many steps ahead of time, and knowing my luck, things would freeze, Ableton could close, and then you're like, you're gonna load it back up. It says, would you like to leave where you left off? Ableton made a bobo. You're gonna load it up, project comes back, but certain things, it didn't actually save all the way, so it's like, I'm just gonna save. That way you know it's a sure thing. Yeah. Super screamy. Load it up. All right. A and B. Cool. All right. So let's hear the second drop here. Refresh my brain.
Kush is my cologne and I'm smoking out the zone.
Cool. All right, so that first section of the drop is done. So let me bring in the full first drop. So let's see what it sounds like from transitioning from the first, well, I guess we'll call it half of the one. I know you just heard it. I'll go halfway at least. All right, that works. It works. All right, so with that being said, let's create an outro. Let's grab the melody section here. Paste that beautiful bean footage. And let's see what it sounds like. Go from here. Well, let's go here. Let's get the white noise in there. Two, three, four, and this whole section is gonna be big time reverbed. Volume comparison from one to the other. That's a big difference. I think I'm gonna lower the compressor here because that was like crazy. All right, we're gonna bring this at the end. And that actually might work. Let's hear everything because I want to make sure it's kind of it's going to sound funny, but a wet ending for effects. I don't want it to just be a dry stop. All right. One more little instrument. But we are going to shorten that up. And throw some reverb on it. Not too much, though. Try that. All right, that's cool. The only other thing I can think of for the ending vocal chops, vox chops, whatever you want to call them, is kind of like a filtered effect. I can either do, like a telephone effect, not like a high pass filter. I mean, you can kind of do it with a filter plugin. I'll show you, for example, if I go filter and make sure that only this section it's going to be turned on and choose this one. It works. So then if we hear the transition, I think I'm going to play that one more time, actually. Just, it's a nice melody, and instead of just killing the song after, what is that, 16 measures, 8 measures, whatever, I'm going to do it one more time and then throw on that stuff. So let's look at the mixer, make sure this is all correct. Scoozy. Reverb's on the kick. And cut out some of the white noise. We're going to take that part out, and that, and that. So the second half of this. No, I don't know if I want that kick there. The impact. Nah, we can leave it there. All right. So, roughly, I think the song is done. Except for that one little pet peeve thing that I mentioned earlier. I'll brainstorm that. We're going to hear this again. Sorry, folks. Let's hear the final mix, I guess we'll call it. Save that beautiful bean footage. Apple S. Look at my master. Make sure nothing is on it. We're good. One little tip for you guys when doing your mix. Like when you want to do exactly what we're going to be doing here and listening to the full mix, is whatever plugin, third-party plugin you have, or even your DAW if it supports it, which I'm pretty sure it does. For Ableton, I'm going to go to Utility and go to Mono. And I'm going to listen to the whole song in mono. So then that way I get a better, accurate, not really, I don't think representation is the right word, but a better, accurate listening mix, because everything's mono, whereas all my bass synths and all that, you got your stereo spreading going on. It sounds good, but you don't know if your levels are correct. So usually I throw mono on the master, give it a listen, make sure all my levels are good. EQ as well, you know, all that stuff. Just brainstorming everything in your ears while listening. And then once I'm done, I'll turn the mono plugin off, save it, render it, and then move on to mastering. So let's listen to this in mono. And it's going to sound a lot different, by the way, because, well, it's mono.
cologne and I'm smoking out the zone.
Oh, and by the way, if it sounds really quiet to you guys, that's because we're at a low level in the master to get the mix right. Mastering is when everything becomes louder. You do all your little icing on the cake. So, that is why. Sorry, I gotta hear that again. It sounded like my bass synths were a little bit quiet. Okay, I heard one little bass synth right there that was a little weak. Not weak, it just needed some more coloring. There you are. Much better. And as you can see, we're around -6 for the overall peaks, and that's what we want. We're a little bit over sometimes, but that's okay.
Kush is my cologne and I'm smoking out the zone.
All right, one more thing, and it's pretty much done. I need to put some EQ on the voice, on the Vox chops. I noticed they're not bright enough. I mean, they're good, but they need to just be a smidge brighter. So if we go to, like, say here, for example, gotta cut off the lows a little bit. There. Cleaned them up and brightened them up a little. Okay, we're good. All right, so now I've got to turn the mono off. All right, here, let me do this. I'm going to put that back in, and I'm going to give you a difference in mono, cycling it on and off while we'll just do where the first drop is. So you get the idea. All right, so that's a nice little tip for you guys is when you are, like I said, listening to your mix for the last few times before you're ready to render it down, always listen to it in mono. If anything else, like analyze tools, I usually go to the busiest part of the song, so we'll go to that drop again. And on the master, it's good to know how much spread you got going on in your song, because too much, you're going to lose a lot of elements in your sounds. So, for example, if I break out the imager, just the imager, I think it's the imager. Let's find out. Yeah. And without touching anything, leaving everything at default, because that's 0, then we're just going to get the true representation of what we've done for spread in our track. This will give me an idea if I've got too much going on. And as it's playing, you'll see this guy going up and down, and you don't ever want it to go below 0. As long as it's between 0 and 1, your spread is good. And as you can see, it's a nice tight mix in here, but every once in a while, some stuff will go a little bit further, but that's kind of the idea, because you want that like variety where some spread is a little bit more than other stuff, you know, so yeah. Nice. So that's good. Spread is good on that. It's not overdone. If anything else, throw on, for Ableton anyways, throw the spectrum analyzer on. I usually first run it fast. And what you want in the overall spectrum of this scope, I guess we'll call it, is, well, looking at it the other way, because I think I'm reversed to you. I don't remember. If this is your low end over here and this is your high end, you want it to start and have it drop towards the end. You don't want it to go, obviously, the opposite way. And in the low end, you don't want the low end to be way more, too much more than the rest of like the mid section. You want it to be above, but not a lot. So you can tell in this frequency right here that this is my sub, and then everything else is like, you know, your snare, high end, so on and so forth. got a little bit of lag going on. Man, yeah. Okay. So that's pretty good. You could also throw on like a slow average line, and that will give you a little bit more idea of what it looks like overall. Man, I got stuff all over the place. All right. So that's pretty good. Not too bad. Not the greatest, but not bad either. What else? You can also throw on your EQ, whether it's EQ8, EQ3, so on, and kind of get a visual that way as well. So you can see that right here in this frequency, that's where the sub is coming through. And then at the end, it kind of rolls off. It can roll off more, but I'm going to be doing that when I go to master the track. So with that being said, for OG Kush, studio time, part 2. Let's render this beautiful bean footage. 44.1, 24-bit, no dither because this is just the mix. And yeah, let's export. And as you can see, I named this project Yep, because I didn't have a title at the time. That's kind of how I work. Sometimes when I create songs, it's like song 1, song 2, song 3. Some of these others, it's like fire or hardcore. But this one, we're just going to call it Yep. No, we're not. We're going to go DJ Bone. Going to call it OG Kush. And then bracket, mix, bracket. Go. All right. So that is, my friends, how I created OG Kush. If you have any questions, anything that I might have missed out in discussing this song of how I created it, in the first video, I'm pretty sure I went over like how I do my sub bass. As for like effects chains, my bass synths. The bass synths for this song, I'm just using the VR rack, and I throw in an extra EQ, and I cut out the low end, so I just do a high pass pretty much, so that the sub can come in for it. I did EQ cleanup on the pad work with the ARP synth, pluck synth that I was using. EQ cleanup on the vocals with some compression, reverb, stuff like that. My kick, I ran it mono. Had some toys on my snare, just like multi-band compression, some EQ. What else? Just overall cleanup on stuff. A lot of low-end cleanup. And then towards the end, like I said in the master, put the mono in there. If you have a spread imager analyzer to give you an idea what your stereo sounds like for your song, so it's not too much. And then part 3 will be mastering for Studio Time OG Kush. And I think I'm actually going to do it differently this time than my last series for Desolate. Last time I did Ozone, it was like I had Ozone analyze the track and give us an idea what it should be, made a couple tweaks with it, bumped up some stuff, and then printed. And that was it. This one, I think I'm going to bring in some Fab Filter and just kind of like manually control this track with individual plugins, third-party plugins, maybe some stock ones, we'll see. And do like an A and B maybe on the third part of the series, where I would show you the Desolate track, that was done with Ozone in comparison to this one that we will be mastering with single effects in a chain, and see what you guys think. But until next time, guys, I will see you guys in part 3 of Studio Time. All right, peace.